Welcome to Speak the Truth. My name is Gary Johnson. I'm your facilitator for today. I'm the publisher and founder of BlackMenInAmerica.com. And today is June 5th, 2020. We're going to start off this week by going to your host, Mr. Harold Bell, DC sports broadcasting legend, civil rights pioneer, gotten a lot of people into the Hall of Fame and all of that other stuff. Mr. Bell, if we talked about your accomplishments, we would be about 30 minutes into the show. So I'm gonna let you do that and take it away.
I want to laugh. I want to say, hey man, it's great to be here on this Sunday. Kind of had a rough few days, but hey, that's life. That's life in Black America. So that is nothing unusual.
Got 5 black men here. Got 5 black men here. All AARP members, I'm sure.
Check it out. Double platinum AARP members. Okay.
You know, today's a special day for me because 79 years ago I came on this earth. Okay?
I know. Happy birthday, Mr. B.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm not as old as Harold Bell yet, but I've been working on getting there, Harold.
Well, look, you know, while we speak of birthdays, my aunt Elaine Stone turned 102 on yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is remarkable.
Gary Johnson had a chance to meet her 2 years ago when she was 100. We brought her and introduced her to a show that I was doing in Northeast Washington as we were paying tribute to, of course, my dear friend, the late Muhammad Ali. In fact, Muhammad Ali's 6th anniversary of his death was on Friday. So yeah, this has been one hell of a week, man. So happy birthday, Mr. B. Okay. I want to say, man, I had a great time yesterday on Saturday, man. Thanks to Mr. B, he introduced me to some dynamite brothers and one white guy.
Well, you know we diverse, Harold.
In Rochester on iHeart Radio. So I invited the host to co-host the show with me today. Let me tell you a little about him. This guy, guess what the name of his show is? What's Going On? And you know that's my homeboy, my main man, Marvin Gaye. Yes, that's what his show was. I didn't have any idea. But anyway, it's the host of What's Going On. It's heard on Fox Sports 1280 AM iHeart Media. This has been his home for the past 20 years. He is just not a talk show host. He is a talented filmmaker. Check out his history in films on Black Border Warriors, History of the Seminole Negro Indians, and King's Faith, starring Lynn Winfield and James McDaniel. I would like to welcome to Speak the Truth, Mr. Nate Brown. How you doing, Nate?
Well, thank you for that intro. I forgot about those films, man. I forgot about we did those movies 2 years ago. And the doc was really cool because it is with my partner, Mr. Joseph Hill. And we did that doc on the Seminole Negro. And as a matter of fact, we won the Black Berlin Film Festival for that, Pan-African Film Festival. So that was kind of cool. I love filmmaking and I love talk radio and I love sports.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool for me. And I've always been into doing that kind of different kind of stuff. But the thing I love about him, Mr. Gary Johnson, is when I was talking to Mr. Bell, he was giving me the business about the Boston Celtics. He was like, I mean, Lawrence, he was like shoving me like, dude, you gotta like the Celtics. So then the kind of cat, I grew up in New York City in the Bronx. So what I did was I did a little research for you, Mr. Bell. Do you know the original Celtics started in New York City?
Is that right?
In listen, you had me go deep, Playboy. I mean, if I'm gonna come and mess with you, and you a legend, I gotta go deep. 1914, the original Celtics started. The west side of New York, the precursor to the NBA. From there, they stopped playing after World War I. Then they picked up again. Then they ended up, I think they played for like another 15 or so years in New York, but they took the name and like your boy, Mr. Brown, that we talked about, what's the guy's name from the Celtics? Walter Brown?
Yeah, Walter Brown, the owner.
The owner. So he picked that up Now I know why Red Auerbach, the guy you love, raised in Brooklyn, the original Celtics had a cat named Nat Holzman.
Right.
Who went on who went on the coach for CCNY in that huge scandal back in the 50s.
That's right.
So I'm doing my research. I'm like, Mr. Bell, man, we have to go deep, Gary. I have to go deep in the annals of sports to figure out, okay, there's a connection between Boston and New York, Mr. Bell. And I want to tell you that because I went to DeWitt Clinton High School, all boys high school in the Bronx. And your first championship that you guys won like in the 70s was with a point guard named Nate Tiny Archibald.
Oh yeah. I interviewed Nate. That's my man.
6'1",
yeah.
they say, but he really was like 5'11".
Right.
I'm serious. He was like 5'11", maybe 6 feet. Tiny went to Clinton. He played ball, went to Texas El Paso. You know, he got drafted with the Sacramento Kings, which used to be the Rochester Royals.
Right.
Okay. They moved to Kansas City. So I'm doing my research saying, man, Mr. Harold knows so much about sports. I felt so blessed for you just to give me that little caveat to go do some more research about the brothers. I went to school. When I went to high school with some pretty deep dudes. Butch Lee played ball with Marquette.
Right.
Ended up playing with Magic Johnson. I went to school with a cat named Ron B. Hagan, another dude named Ricky Sobers that played for the Chicago Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with another cat named Tommy Henderson, who was in DC with you cats, that won an Olympic gold medal, and he won a championship with the Boston Bullets. So I have to go dig deep in the archives on that too.
That's good, man. That's great research, and it's always good, man, to be enlightened, because ain't no sense of coming here on speak truth without doing your research. And today we are going to take out time out and pay tribute to the great Red Auerbach and his wife Dottie. Dottie was really a class act, and she is really responsible for my success with Red, because I didn't have to go through no agents. All I had to do was call Dottie, say, Dottie, I need Red on certain days, and that was it, man. But Red, the people see, Black folks don't understand the history of Boston, the Boston Celtics anyway, because Black folks hated the Celtics, man. Or here in Washington, D.C., you better not say nothing about the Celtics. And that, they were a great team. But see, what people didn't understand was that the town was racist and is probably still racist, but that was not allowed in the Boston Garden with Red Auerbach, man. Red Auerbach and Walter Brown was, look, no racism in it, and they told their security, if you see them acting up, put them out of here. Put them out. And Red's history reads for itself. In 1950, Red and Walter Brown drafted the first Black player in Chuck Cooper out of Duquesne. He was the first Black drafted in the NBA. And then Red and Walter went on to really, this is fantastic. They put the first 5 Black ball players at one time on the floor, man. You know what I'm saying? They did. They hired the first Black coach, of course, Bill Russell, the first general manager, Bill Russell. So when you start talking about the Celtics, man, check your history, because Red Auerbach and Walter Brown, they set the pace for these guys today. Right now, as we look at what's going on in the playoffs, at this time, man, out of 30 franchises in the NBA, we got 15 Black head coaches. That is unbelievable, man. 15 Black head coaches out of 30 franchises, man. Shoot, what do we have in the NFL? What we got? Do we have 2 Black coaches?
Well, we got one Black guy. We didn't know he was Black until he said he was Black. I mean, so I don't know if he counts or not, Gary. You know, the cat. I mean, he was like, "Are you a brother?" Not just say it. Come on, man. I mean, you a little on the light tip, but we come in all shades, homie. You don't have to be hiding. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you get the minority hire, and I'm Black. See, you doing the Doss Indian, the $5 Indian stuff. Mr. Lucas know about that.
He's been sitting on the fence.
That Lucas know about the $5 Indians.
That brother has been sitting on the fence. But what we got to realize, man, is that the NBA has been far out front of everyone else in pro sports because of the great Red Auerbach and Walter Brown. And when I stop and think and I look around and guess who was coming to dinner, they never guessed the Boston Celtics was coming to dinner to play in the NBA Finals, man. They were 23-25 at the halfway break during the season. And all of a sudden, we found out they got a black coach. Where did he come from?
Where did he come from?
Well, actually,
where did he come from?
He played in the league. He played in the league.
Really?
Yeah, he played in the league. He played in several teams. He's from the coaching tree of Popovich. When you go back in the Greg Popovich coaching tree, you will see some dynamite brothers. I mean, what's my man, Monty Williams,
right,
for that squad that just left, Phoenix Suns. Right. I mean, Steve Kerr. I mean, the coaching tree for Popovich is deep. And the thing about Popovich coaching tree is they got a conscience. Okay, I'll say it again. These white boys that they got coaching and brothers, they got a conscience. Yes. So Steve Kerr, because his dad died at the hands of gun violence.
That's right. Okay,
and you heard him speak out on that. M.A. Endora, I mean, he had to speak out on a whole bunch of stuff. So you're right, Mr. Bell. There are 15 black head coaches, and to name a few: Dwayne Casey, Monty Williams, J.P. Bickerstaff, Doc Rivers, Tyronn Lue, Stephen Silas. That's just a few of them. And you can only call 3 names in the NFL, and that's 2.5.
Popovich spoke out this morning.
There you go.
Several hours ago about older white men in their 60s. Huh?
Do you have that? Can we see that?
I don't have any tape of it, but I just saw the headline that came across where he was down there in Uvalde, Texas, talking. And he says, look, it's white men, 50, 60 years old like us who just want to hold on to power. I'm like, wow, these coaches are really crystallizing it. Like, I mean, Steve Kerr, what he said last week, I mean, he nailed it. I mean, that's a mic drop to what he said. Yeah. And then, but like we said here, Popovich, wow, they have a social conscience.
Exactly. Yeah, Jim Blount, come on in here. We're from Rochester, New York. We got Jim Blount with us. Jim,
this is
a long time friend.
Let me make a statement. Nate Brown just mentioned the Rochester Royals, who eventually became the Cincinnati Royals, then the Kansas City. But in 1952, I think Bill Russell was graduating. Bill Russell and Casey Jones, University of San Francisco, and actually it was a guy here named Nate. Help me out. The owner,
Les Harrison.
Les Harrison. They had the first pick in the NFL draft.
NBA draft.
NBA draft, I'm sorry, NBA draft. And when I was a kid in the early 50s, 51, 52, I remember watching, we had an old black and white television, I think it was 12 inches at the time. I remember watching the Rochester Royals play basketball, NBA, on black and white television. That's before we had color TV. I said, Rochester, where is that town? But anyway, because it was another 7-footer, Louis Zorn's brother. He went to Syracuse. He played with the Syracuse Nationals. They had a professional basketball team. But anyway, Lester Harrison, with his naive self, well, we should have drafted Bill Russell. We thought he was going with the Harlem Globetrotters. Bill said he never made a commitment to go to the Harlem Globetrotters. And Red Auerbach, being an astute basketball man, he said, Bill Russell's on draft, come to Boston. And the rest of the history. What they 11 championships out of 13 years? I don't think nobody's, even the GOAT can't break that record, okay?
So Bill Russell and Red Auerbach, that combination there, Red is the greatest coach in the history of the NBA. Why do I say that? Because not only is he the winningest coach, it's because he stayed with one franchise. Franchise. He won all those games. He didn't do like my man from New York, went on to LA, went to several teams before he could catch up with Red. Red stayed with one team, man, and they became the greatest franchise in NBA history. I want to bring my friend Lawrence Lucas. I know he don't have too much time with us today. I want to go up to Delaware, New Jersey, somewhere near you guys, Nate and Jim. Lawrence, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing fine. I'm hanging in here. I'm getting a lesson here. I'm listening to all this history and all this feedback from all over the depths of basketball and sports. So I have to tell you, I'm a fish out of water when I'm sitting here listening to you all. I'm a track and field civil rights man, and I'll blend in wherever I can. But what you all are saying in the history is
Stop that,
fantastic.
man. Lawrence, you come out of Spingarn High School. Two of the greatest NBA players. We're the only alumni, Spingarn, that have two NBA players in the Hall of Fame. No other public school in America
That's right.
had two NBA players in the Hall of Fame. That's Spingarn High School. Elgin Baylor and Dave Bing. So no, you're not no fish out of water, my brother.
And when you speak about the great Elgin Baylor, everybody be talking about LeBron James. And I know I love LeBron James.
Come on.
I love LeBron James, but you have got to see the originator. Elgin Baylor before, and I love me some Dr. J. I had me conversation with Dr. J. I love me Julius. But before Julius, Elgin Baylor was doing the dance. He was not. It's the only thing that bothers me. They never won enough. He never won an NBA championship, and he should have won one. He should have really won one. Those Laker teams. That's why you said it, Mr. Bell and Mr. Blount. Boston was no joke because those Laker teams back in the day, Lawrence, they had freaking Wilt Chamberlain on the Lakers, Jerry West, Gail Goodrich.
They couldn't beat Boston.
They had a crew.
But Elgin, let me make a
Celtics.
Elgin Baylor was so great. They say he's the only man. He's the only man in NBA history to defy gravity.
Oh yeah!
Like when he jumped, he was continuing to go up.
I mean, Elgin Baylor was one of the greatest power.
They called him Rabbit. They called him Rabbit for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Elgin wasn't. He was 6'5". He was 6'5", man.
That's right.
And played above the rim, man.
That's right, above the rim.
And your other boy, Mr. Lucas, Dave Bing was the truth.
No question.
Dave Bing never miss. You hear what I'm saying? You be looking at them old teams. I'm like, Dave Bing, JoJo White. I mean, those cats, mid-range games was stellar. They never missed.
That was basketball being played at its best, man. And now I'm glad I got you guys on this basketball kick because every time they come up with, well, who is the greatest of all time? Who is the greatest of all time? I want to hear from each of you, who do you think is the greatest NBA player of all time, and why do you think that? Let's start with my co-host. Let's go with Nate. Nate, come on in.
I can't really say that because I got to do it by eras. See, people got to understand. You got to do era to era.
Yes.
You can't go who's the greatest. You got to go, okay, who was good in that era? Okay, but if I had to go overall, because you asked me the question, I don't want to dodge it. I don't want to dodge it. I got to go to the man with the 11 rings. Okay. Even if you got 11 championship rings and you was a stalwart of that team, you might not have scored a whole bunch of points, but you blocked all the shots. You did every damn thing. You was Draymond Green before Draymond Green. Let's just keep it like that. Bill Russell to me, and like I said, eras, but to me, I gotta go with Bill Russell. I gotta go with Bill Russell.
All right, Jim Blount, come on in, Jim.
Well, I thought, you just mentioned Elgin Baylor. It was a guy out of Akron, Ohio, Gus Johnson. He was a power forward with the Buffalo Bullets. Man, he was a prototype of the power forwards you see now. It was another kid out of that played with Wilt Chamberlain. Well, he was with Dr. J. You used to call him Dawkins.
Daryl Dawkins.
Daryl Dawkins.
Come on.
Chocolate Thunder. Thunder.
I would say I got to go with Bill Russell because not only does he have rings, he was a leader of men.
Yep.
He was a leader, not
Yep.
Okay.
Aurebach stepped down. He's
Okay, we got 2 votes for Russell. I'm gonna go with Lawrence Lucas.
I'm going. I have to. I would like to share my bias, but I really can't. There's nowhere in the world that you can not see the man as an athlete and a man as a human being, and that's Bill Russell.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I like Elgin Baylor and others, there's no one who can touch the great Bill Russell. None.
That's 3 for Russell. All right, Gary.
All right, let me preface my comments here. I'm the youngest guy on the stage here, and if we were all in a busy intersection and we were going to cross the street, you guys would say, "Hey, hold my hand. Give me your hand." So, so that's how young I am. But man, listening to Nate, I mean, he laid it out. How can you deny 11 rings, a leader of men, and the consistency, one team? I mean, and then player coach.
There you go.
I mean, I was a kid when he was a player coach, and I was like, I remember talking to my dad. I said, "Is he playing and coaching?"
Yes. Because you're right. Because Gary, he would like call timeout.
Yeah.
And go in the game.
Yeah.
You go like, did Bill Russell just go in the game?
I was trying to learn the game, and my father's like, "No. He's doing both.
He's
I'm like both. A black. Even then, I'm like, a black man.
That's what I say. I was marveled. I marveled at that. I marveled.
All right, so we got 4. We got 4 people out of 5 so far saying Bill Russell. Well, let me tell y'all who the greatest NBA player of all time. Changed the game. That changed the game as how it was played is Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain changed the game how it was played. Changed and made them put the rim up higher. He made them widen the lane. He led the league in everything. Assists, rebound, scoring. He didn't foul out of a game.
Sexual conquest.
One of the greatest. Yeah, I said, well, that's not saying. It's one of the greatest athletes of all time. If I had to pick one guy between Russell and Wilt Chamberlain to start a franchise and give Wilt a ball players that Bill Russell had, come on, man.
Well, you know what? Then if you put
this guy changed how the game was played. That's what I'm saying.
No, but if you put it that way, Harold,
what did you do to change the game?
Well, Harold, if you put it that way, you're right.
Let me ask you. Let me add one other thing in there. They always want to come out and bring how Pete Maravich revolutionized the game when he came in and all the twirling and all this stuff. Man, that was Earl Monroe. What are y'all talking about? Earl Monroe revolutionized the game. He revolutionized how the game was played, man. But we don't control no media, so the media boys, you know who they are, jump. Oh yeah, Pete Maravich did. I had to jump on a guy, Tim Wise, at the Washington Post. He came out with a great article on Pete Maravich. I called him out. I said, man, what are you talking about? Do you know anything about Earl Monroe? So yeah, we got to be very careful. And Russell was great. Ain't no doubt about it. But Russell had all the tools, man. I mean, he had some great ball players around.
But hold on, Mr. Bell. Now look at now. Let's just be. We just talked about the Lakers and who they had on their squad. The Lakers had Jerry West. The Lakers had my man. We had Elgin Baylor. The Lakers had Gail Goodrich. The Lakers had a good squad. The Lakers had a good squad. Wait a minute, and the Lakers had Wilt. Okay, so now what I'm saying to you is that they could not get over the hump when it came to the Celtics. Now you're right. What's my boy name? Chamberlain. But remember now, they changed the bar for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He couldn't even dunk in college. So if we're going to talk about changing different courses of the game, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar changed the game. Because in college, they ain't even allowed a brother to dunk. Because if he would have dunked in college, he would have scored 50 points a game. Because they couldn't check him. So if you look at a game changes, Earl DePearl was one of them. The present game changer right now in NBA basketball, as much as we love LeBron, every kid right now want to be Stephen Curry. The only reason everybody wants to be like Mike, was because you said it earlier, Mr. Bell. He had the greatest media campaign on the planet. If Michael Jordan didn't have Gatorade and want to be like Mike, you ain't trying to be like Mike. I'm just sorry.
Okay. Well, look here. Stephen Curry is out of sight, but have you seen John Moran? Come on, man.
No, he's the next level. But there are levels to the game. Didn't I just say, Gary, eras and levels? So there's eras and levels to the game.
Mr. Blunt trying to get in there. You on mute, Mr. Blunt.
Mr. Blunt, you on mute. You on mute, home skillet.
On mute, Jim. You're on mute. You're on mute. But anyway,
he does this on my show too, Gary. He gets on mute. He forgets.
Lower left-hand corner. There you go. Lower left-hand corner. Unmute yourself.
Turn up the mute, Mr. B. Come on.
This section of the show is the greatest barroom argument. We could just cut the show right now and just do a barroom argument right now.
Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. One of the things I was listening to, I very seldom listen to this guy. He gets on my nerves. I was listening to Stephen A. Smith the other day, and he was talking about him and Kendrick Perkins was talking about how they helped change the game for black coaches. That's why we got so many black coaches now. You know, these guys always speak up after the fact. Now, ESPN sent out a notice to all of their talk show hosts. They cannot talk about sports.
You mean politics?
I mean politics. I'm sorry. You can't talk about politics at no time.
Yep.
So the other day, of course, they were talking about these young kids being shot, man. And they had somebody, I had never seen the guy, but Stephen A. Smith and his crew, they cannot talk politics unless somebody on one of their guests start the conversation off about politics. That's being muzzled, man. That's not freedom of speech. But when they pay you that kind of money, I guess you go along with whatever they say. So I'm fine. Go ahead, Nate.
No, what I was gonna simply say is you're right. You get 8 to 10 mil a year. You know you ain't gonna, Gary, you know you ain't gonna mess that up. Okay, I hate to say it. This is America. This is capitalism. We do live in this country. But at the end of the day, though, you gotta speak truth to power. At some point in time, Playboy, even as bad as Charles Barkley is spitting on kids or people back in the day, come on now, G. Mr. Lawrence Charles Barkley, one of the nastiest cats ever played basketball, and everybody love him now. It's like, how do you love this dude? He spit on people. My mother told me 2 things never to do: call somebody a nigga and spit on somebody. Those are if you did those 2 things in my household, Mr. Lawrence, you got beat down. You don't call nobody the N-word, and you don't spit on anybody. That's nasty. You just don't do that. So when he did that, I'm saying to myself, he ain't a nice fella. And he's grown, as you can see, even in broadcasting, Mr. Bell, he's very cantankerous. So the media likes when black men go at each other. Yeah. Stephen A. did it the other day with these brothers. You can't go. These athletes, they're a different breed. They tweet, they TikTok, they in love with themselves. It's okay. Brothers, I got it. But at the end of the day, you need somebody in your corner like Mr. Bell or Mr. Lucas or Mr. Blount or Mr. Johnson to say, yo, player, it's the village. You
some good home training.
I'm saying? You got the dough, but it's the village. Yeah. That's going to help you continue to do what you got to get done. And I want to transition right quick because we talked about this on my show earlier. LeBron James, the first active black person with $1 billion playing sports. Yes. And Mr. Bell said it. He was active and invested in all different kinds of things. He brought along his childhood boy, Maverick Carter.
Yeah.
Sent them to college and listen, I'm going to go get the loot. You're going to get the paper so we can legitimize anything that white America got to come at us. I got to end. How many letters you got? NBA, judicial doctorate. All right, so and whenever you come at us, alphabet soup them. Because we in America, Mr. Lawrence, you know what I'm talking. Alphabet soup them so they can go on their way. LeBron James has got the formula. If other athletes, and Mr. Bell said it, if the NFL had followed Colin Kaepernick, he called it, he said the NFL will buy their balls. They had them by the balls, Mr. Bell. They had them. Mr.
Yes.
Lucas. But what do? We go and we sell out.
Yeah, that's right.
They dangle some coins in front of us. Here we go again. Sorry, Mr. Lucas, take over for me. I'm sorry. I just
let me make another statement about LeBron James, because remember when he was in high school, he was because I met my sister lived in Akron, and I went out there for a graduation for my niece, and I met the guy who it was a deacon in their church, and LeBron was at that black church, and they thought he was a wily kid, uncontrollable. They gave up on him. He said it was the worst mistake the church could have made in the history of the church. What did he do? He went over to the Catholic League.
Yep.
And Ohio being a big Catholic state, they start broadcasting his game on the Catholic television network. They were making money off of him when he was in high school. That's how he got his business savvy. And when he finished high school, like you said, Nate Brown, he had a group of guys that came with him. And David Stern was upset because he didn't get one of his Jewish boys to be his agent. And now the rest is history because he's a billionaire in spite of. So he had a long history of knowing who he was and where he was. And by the way of information, both LeBron James and Steph Curry was born in the same hospital in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, wow. Okay, guys, we get down here at the halfway mark now. I want to talk about these shootings that are taking place all around the country. Our young people, not only blood is flowing in the streets, blood is flowing in the classrooms now, man. And nobody seems to have any idea of what to do about this. And I want to play, last time we talked about this on the show, maybe a couple of weeks ago, we had Dale Hansen on, the sportscaster out of Dallas, Texas. I want you to listen to him talk about the shootings in the high school.
He has something he wants to say about school shootings. Here is his extra point.
Another high school shooting yesterday, this one in Florida, 17 dead, the last report I saw. And everybody sends their thoughts and prayers again because that works so well. This is the 18th high school shooting in America this year, and we have 10 and a half months to go. We've had 290 since 2013. We average about one a week, but there's just nothing we can do. If it was a Muslim or a Mexican doing the shooting, how many new laws and how much money would we spend then to stop the madness? But since it's almost always a white kid, there's just nothing we can do. America has 5% of the world's population, and yet 31% of the world's mass shootings. We're worried about people coming to this country. They should be worried about us going to theirs. Australia had 4 mass shootings between 87 and 96. They passed stricter gun laws and haven't had a single mass shooting since. And here I thought, guns don't kill, people do. Is this the people we are? Last time I said we need to find a way to stop a nut with a gun, and that's all I said. I get an email saying, I'm saving my last bullet to put it right between your eyes. Just another responsible gun owner in America, and I'm taking all bets he's a white guy. So there's just nothing we can do. I'm Dale Hansen. It's getting harder to enjoy the day.
Okay. Woo! Lawrence Lucas. Lawrence, have you gone? I want to bring Lawrence. I know Lawrence had to get out of here. It looked like he may be gone already. But let's go on there. Let's move. Jim, what do you think about that? You guys just had a big shooting up there at in Buffalo. Was it Buffalo?
Yes.
Yeah, in Buffalo at the supermarket where this 18-year-old white kid traveled 200 miles to come into Buffalo and kill black people, man. So
lean back, Mr. Blount. Lean back so we can see your full face. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, tell us about that. And in Rochester, you guys have had plenty of problems with shootings in Rochester, police brutality, and all that other thing. What's your take on what happened in Buffalo, Jim?
Let me relate some additional information to you that happened at the Erie County Jail. When the kid was prosecuted, the Erie County Jail is located downtown Buffalo, not too far from the Niagara River. And she overheard the guy saying that his buddies, some of the business people in Conklin, that little town he came from on the Pennsylvania line near Binghamton, New York, very close to Binghamton, said that his business people in that community was going to help him if he got into any trouble. Now they done figured out the gravity of what he has done, and they're backing off because they like mouths running for safety. We call it flight to safety. So this thing might get deeper if they go down there and start investigating that little town and find out what is going on down here. Do we have a bunch of right-wing nuts trying to overthrow the government of the United States? Because this stuff could get serious, okay?
But
And
Mr.
that was reported in the Buffalo News. That's the daily newspaper out of Buffalo that's owned by the Wizard of Omaha. You know who I'm talking about, the wealthy guy.
But Mr. Blount, we just can't go strictly to the white guys killing people, because the last person that did this was a crazy black guy in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The last shooting.
Yeah, but that was one out of one.
But Mr. Blount,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
This is what I'm saying, Mr. Blount. This is what I'm saying to you. Yes, there are radicalized white terrorists attacking stuff. Actually, I did some more research. They've been doing this for the longest, starting with lynching. So let's not go to. Well, let's not go. Let's just shoot. They've been doing lynchings since Jim Crow. White lynch mobs. Check this out. White lynch mobs murdered at least 44,467 people between 1883 and 1941. That was just what they recorded. Hanging, burning. Listen to this now. Dismembering, blow torching their victims. Now, dismembering somebody, you got to really not like somebody that dismember them, okay? Blow torching them?
We're not surprised at that, are we? Are we surprised?
But that's what I'm saying. So fast forward now to the shootings. We can't be surprised because this country is founded on violence. I asked the guy last week we had from Canada on my show, and you got to get him on your show, Gary and Harold. The dude, black brother, knows hockey up the yin yang. Tripped me and Mr. Blount the hell out. Willie O'Reed grew up in his neighborhood. Name is Daryl Maxwell. This brother's like hockey personified. He said, Nate, your country started off on the wrong foot to begin with. I'm like, yo, that's kind of deep from a Canadian. He said, you started off taking the Native Americans' land and killing them. So where do you think you're going to end up? Mm-hmm. So for us in America, Gary, this isn't anything should be like totally new. What's happening is because you have the media and they could report it within 20 seconds if they want to. I'll say this again, if they want to, because we know the media is controlled by other folks. We already know that already. Right. That's why we brothers on our own show. But they wouldn't put us on freaking TV because we'll be calling them out. The Bilderbergs and the Rothschilds, come on now. Because we know control shit. But at the end of the day, what I'm simply saying is that this is an epidemic already in our DNA in America. This is already in our DNA. For us to kind of go against one another, like Mr. Bell said, to have black folks antagonize one another, go against each other, to have Latinos talk about, I'm Mexican, I'm Argentinian. You all look Spanish to me. What the hell? Have Asians say, I'm from this Korea, I'm from China. You all look like you're Asians to me. I can't tell if I'm in a crowd. So what I'm saying to you is it's about mass confusion on purpose, by design. Right. It's design, organized confusion. Just think about this. All of a sudden, all of these shootings being reported, you got to think about that. All of them? Do you want a race war? Do you want somebody to retaliate against this? Gentlemen.
Gary?
Well, it certainly has become normalized. I mean, when you hear about another shooting, I think most people will say, oh, wow, another school shooting, another mass shooting. The chaos and the chaos is something also because we always seem to fall for the okie doke. And the pitting against each other is pretty common in our community. We can't seem to get away from that. I learned about 20, 30 years ago from a mentor who would always use the phrase in the Black community, you always have some people in our community who think the white man's ice is colder. So we're gonna pay more for his ice because his ice is colder. We ain't gonna use your ice.
Same damn ice.
Yeah, you know. So it's out there, but what do we do? You know, one person at a time, standing up.
One of the things, Gary, that we can't do, we can't keep pointing the fingers at the white man, Donald Trump, if we don't have our own act together. You know, I look at some of these, and a lot of this stuff started locally, man. You know, I'm known all over the country. I done been, you name the politicians, I done broke bread with them. But leadership, there is no such thing as leadership in our community, you know? And one of the stupid things is you ask a white person who is his leader, he's gonna look at you like he's crazy. He's right. Crazy. What leader? We got to lead ourselves, man. And one other thing, we got to call each other out. We got to stop condoning this type of behavior, man. I remember one time, man, that a handshake in your word was all that you needed. Not today. No one keeps their word. And I done been through it over and over again when it comes to those folks who had nothing, and then when they get something, they forget who they are and where they came from. This goes on in our community, man, at a record rate. So I'm saying until we get our act together, man, we just had a parent. She lost her 11-year-old son last summer, man. Last summer in a shooting at a block party, man, in the neighborhood in Southeast DC. These guys just shooting up down the street. Killed her 11-year-old son, an outstanding young athlete, man, outstanding. They went to trial, man, just last week, and the judge gave these 3 dudes, one who did the shooting, 16 years, the other 9 years, and the third one 5 years. And the mother went off. She said, that's nothing but a slap on the wrist. She told the other parent, you can go see your son in jail. I can never see my son unless I go to the graveyard. And the judge will pass down this kind of sentence, man, on these guys. He should have put them away, man, where they would never see daylight again, as far as I'm concerned. Anytime you are as reckless. And then we come to the leadership, man. These guys had an office in the block called the Alliance of Black Men, Concerned Black Men. They were nowhere on the scene, man. And guess what? They run by a guy by the name of Bob Woodson, who's been pimping them for decades, getting money, big grants from white folks, and had these brothers go out and pretend that they're doing something in the community. I know him personally. I know Bob Woodson. He hasn't been doing nothing. But
is he from New York?
No, Bob Woodson was a Republican mouthpiece, wasn't he?
Right, Republican mouthpiece. That's right. And
I remember him because he came here and gave a speech. I almost cussed him out. I was so disgusted with it.
Yeah, he's terrible, man. But that's the kind of leadership that we got going on. Not only I say local leadership. We got in Washington, D.C., we got the mayor, Miriam Bowser, who's running for a 3rd term, has done absolutely nothing, man, but cater to the 1%, 2%, whoever they are.
Well, that's the same thing going on in Buffalo.
Yeah,
Rochester,
listen to this. I'll let you guys in there. She has 2 guys running against her, 2 black guys. One name is Trayvon White. The other one is named White too, and none of them, the 3 of them, they ain't worth 2 dead flies. All they gonna do is do the same thing over and over again. But it's our fault. It's the voters' fault because you keep putting these people back in office. I went down to testify against this white chief at a confirmation hearing. I went down to the city council and I said, how are you going to put this guy? He was sitting right beside me. How are you going to put this guy, make him police chief? He's a drunk. He was found on a corner with his gun in his holster, dead drunk. He has domestic violence with his black girlfriend and his white wife. And you going to make him police chief in the nation's capital? I said, man, this thing is already, y'all have already decided who you go put it in. Oh, this is the guy White. Oh no, Mr. Bell, that's why we got you down here. Do you know what Miriam Bowser, and I told Eleanor Holmes Norton, Murray Chase, City Councilman, and Miriam Bowser, gave them the information background on this guy, and they put him in office, and the crime rate went up, murder rate, crime, and everything else. Now he's next door. He took a job next door as chief, and here we are, still in the bind.
But check this out, though, Mr. Bell. Look how, and I'll say this to be critically honest, how many cities have Black folks as mayors? No. Let's think about that for a second. As mayors, Rochester had several.
I can name some women.
Well, no, Rochester had several. We got one now.
Mm-hmm.
The last mayor had to leave with a tail between her legs. No, let's keep it real.
No. Tell him, Nate Brown.
And I know.
Tell him, Nate Brown, we had a George Floyd 3 months before George Floyd.
The guy named Gary was Daniel Pruitt.
George Floyd case.
The man name was Daniel Pruitt. It's March. It's cold. The man had mental illness. They got the man on the ground and on the floor, beating the man down. Okay, the man dies.
Yeah, but to put a hood over
they put a hood over. But listen, the chief of police was Black and the mayor. So I don't care who you are. This whole thing of terrorism stinks in law enforcement. How you gonna have a police with tattoos of white supremacists on his arm when he show up to get the job? He's telling you, I'm gonna kill your ass if I see you. Yeah. But like Mr. Randall, like Mr. Bell said, we so stupid. Every brother ain't a brother. Just because you Black, that don't mean that you for me. Mm-hmm. Especially if you want to keep your greenbacks going, so you do some nefarious stuff. Here's 2 Black people, Mr. Bell and Mr. Johnson, diming each other out to the point where, excuse me, the mayor has to leave because they said she lied. She threw the police chief under the bus because he lied. Oh, but Lord. This is the wild part about it. The dude who was police chief now is running for Congress as a Republican.
Ticket. Yeah, but tell him on the Republican ticket. That's what.
As a Republican, but it gets better. So check it out. Last week, Memorial Day. I'm at the Memorial Day parade with my granddaughter. She dances. So they got the politicians out. Vote for so-and-so, vote for so-and-so. Mr. Blunt, I didn't even tell you this. They got vote for LaRon Singletary. But he ain't in the parade. So Harold, I said to the lady, how are we going to vote for him if his ass can't show up in the parade? She goes, well, we have another commitment. It's called running. You run from one spot to the next spot to meet the people. You, and the white guy, Harold, says to me, damn it, I had just gave to his campaign. I was hoping to see him. I'm like, dude, they all got the pimp game. How in the hell can anybody say Herschel Walker should run for office?
I was going to say the same thing.
He cannot even speak the proper vernacular of the English language, Gary. He sounds so ignorant. He was on TV the other day with Mike, the Big Mike. You know the guy from Atlanta.
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike.
Yeah.
He's on TV with Killer Mike, Harold. He sounds so ignorant. I'm like, you know what? Y'all gotta stop putting these ignorant ass Black people on TV. I'm gonna kick somebody's ass because this is ridiculous. Mr. Johnson, please help me out.
He was incoherent. He was totally incoherent and could not answer a basic question. And all he could go to was whatever talking points was in his head was about prayer.
Thank you.
That's all he kept saying, prayer. And Killer Mike was like, he asked him a question and he couldn't, about the gun violence. He knows nothing. I don't know who's briefing him, but this should be interesting. He and Raphael Warnock.
Nobody. They will put anybody, like I said, Mr. Bell said it. I expect some white folks to do whatever. But when black folks do it, it's a woodshed moment.
Yes.
Read Dr. Claude Anderson's book, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a woodshed moment.
That's right.
Okay, we need to take their asses up by the woodshed and dust them up. So Clarence Thomas needs a woodshed moment. That guy's ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So,
we got big problems,
So
man.
they put all these black folks in front of us, like Mr. Bell said, vote for him. Just because you black, that's the minute you get my vote. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we gotta start calling them out, man, because they're selling us out, man. The local politicians, that's what we're gonna start doing on this show. I'm gonna invite several of them on. If they don't come on, I'm gonna put them on the spot.
Yeah.
Come on, they duck and speak the truth. There's no doubt about that. Because evidently they got some hidden agendas. And they can come after me. I hope you do. I want you, because I am not afraid of you. But something is wrong out there, man. We keep putting these same old politicians like Glenn Ivey, a corrupt politician when he was state's attorney. And I recall that because I remember dealing with him personally, going down to his office, taking community people down there to give him some idea of what was happening in the community. Sidney Davis was a part of that, who used to be a part of this program. We gave him a seat at the table. Evidently, he couldn't get his point across. So he went back down there with Glenn Ivey. He know what this man is corrupt. But there he goes. So he has a problem. I don't have the problem. Gary don't have the problem. Anybody else who's on this show don't have a problem. Why would you go with a guy that you know is corrupt? And that's what I said. We got to call him out. I'm going to start calling him out. I've been giving a couple of them a break. You get no more breaks here, baby. Our children are dying in the street and dying in classrooms. And you talking about you don't know what to do. Talking about with children first. When they run for office, the first thing they say, children first. They get in the office and forget to look back. Now,
they're the biggest poverty pimps on the planet. That's what my mama call them. Right. Poverty pimps. Mr. Blount call them that too. They take advantage. They take advantage of people's ills. Mm-hmm. But you know what though? Hate to say it, but so do the bankers and private profiteers. That's what they do. So do the churches. Don't get me started.
Hey, look. The greatest thing about the church is that the doors are open and anybody can come in. So's the worst thing about the church. The doors are open and anybody can come in. I said it.
Yeah, man.
That's very interesting. I never heard it put that way. Yeah. So you saying that door swings both ways, right?
It swings both ways.
Wow. Well, man,
so just double check who's sitting next to you.
That's right.
No, he's right.
I know he's right.
Absolutely correct. Because there's a whole bunch of false Pharisees in the building.
Oh, no question about it.
No, I call it false Pharisees. Christ had to walk around false Pharisees if he was there. They're false Pharisees, lying all the time. How the Catholic Church gonna talk about stuff, but yet again, you know all these people are molesting kids.
Yeah.
For decades, for centuries. You've known it for centuries.
Mr. Bell, look, you in Prince George's County. What about the county executive? What we got on that? You want to see that?
We got a problem there, man. We got a big problem there. As you know, they just ran a piece on television, her calling out her friend Juanita Miller. Let's run that, Gary.
County. The chair of the county's Board of Education, Juanita Miller, says she intends to stay on the job. Now, earlier this week, the person who appointed her to that job, County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, called on Miller to resign. This all comes after the State Board of Education issued a notice of charges against Miller of misconduct in office, willful neglect of duty, and incompetence. And in a statement today, Miller called those charges unfounded and frivolous.
So what's going on here, Mr. Bell? What is going on here, Mr. Bell? What is going on?
Well, you know, earlier, Angela Alsobrooks, our county executive, said she had nothing to do with the school board. She said, I had nothing. That is not my territory. I have nothing to do with it. But she is the one that appointed Juanita Miller, who I've been knowing since she was a little girl. I've been knowing Juanita since she was a little girl. So she got in a position, you know, thinking it's a position of power, and evidently she was incompetent. And I mean, I know the family, man, that's a hell of a thing to say, but man, they are so mixed up and screwed up. they keep going back down over the same paths, Gary. They keep going back over the same paths with each other. You know, I mean, the corruption in this county, man, is well known, not only with the police department, but also with our politicians. Sidney Davis was here complaining about how somebody on the city council, Calvin Hawkins, who came out of jail, was one of his people. He helped him get him on the city council. He's a sexual abuser.
Oh my goodness!
He's the president of the PG County Council, man. This guy.
What, a sex abuser?
Yeah, sexual abuser. It's on his record. He had it on his platform, and they still put him in office. He is now the president of the PG County.
Is he a white guy or a black guy?
He black, man.
That don't even sound right.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at Mr. Johnson. You should see our faces, y'all.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah, man.
who does that?
Yeah, that's what's happening. And they want to know what's wrong with our kids. It's not our kids, man. It's us.
Leadership, value system.
We are the problem, man. So
the value system is gone. The leadership is gone. You know, we need people like Harry Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Thomas James. Look,
but those guys ain't coming, Mr. Blount. Those guys ain't coming back. But the spirit of those guys.
No. But
what I'm saying, the spirit.
They left a legacy. They left a legacy. They left a record. Yeah, but I'm saying
their spirit is still, present.
That's true.
You gotta tap. That's why Colin Kaepernick did what he did. That's why we do what we do. It's the spirit of our ancestors that we must tap into.
Right, the spirit.
Okay.
Right.
And I think that's the most important thing. It's like when you raise your children, you raise them in the spirit of not being a damn consumer, but an entrepreneur. Take a chance on yourself. I be hearing white people say, when I die, I'm not leaving my kids anything. I'm gonna leave everything I can to my kids. Shit, this is what I got for you. Make it more. How dare you say, well, that's because y'all got money. Whatever insurance I'm leaving you, you better flip it.
Yeah.
That's right. Grow the money.
Straight flip it.
Grow the money.
Mr. Bell, you came across some good brothers in me and Mr. Blount. Mr. Johnson, I got your back. Trust me. Because I've been burnt a whole bunch of times, and Mr. Blount knows. But I never stopped dealing with us. I never stopped.
You can't have a website called Black Men in America and not be a target.
Right, that's true.
That's right. That's right. Well,
you know what? Hey, Mr. Bell, let me throw this out because I'm really entertained by this panel today. Let me throw something out. Who's winning the game tonight?
Oh, shoot, I'm going with the Boston Celtics.
I can't do it, man.
You couldn't do it on the first night neither.
No, you know what? You sound like my brother trying to take my money. My brother, we got a bet that the Celtics gonna lose in 4-2. My brother goes, looks like you on the other side of that bet right now, but I'm going with Golden State. I'm
going with Golden State.
It should be a good series. Should be a good series, man. But
I'm gonna go with Golden State, but I must admit, I was stunned by what I saw in game one.
Oh no. But you can't be shocked with basketball, particularly if those guys ain't playing well. Plus, Golden State got to stop with the cocky stuff. Stop shimmering and all that. The game ain't over.
That's right.
You're doing all this. You're doing this. The game ain't over, player. You just won one game. You just won one.
Hey,
you gotta win 4. So all of this. Stop it. And I'm glad they lost that first game, Gary, because now they might get serious.
Shock treatment.
Nate, they were shell shocked.
They were like, oh my God, we up by 10 and 6 minutes to go. We lost by 10 because you're so busy trying to lull people to sleep. You're lucky, Mr. Bell said it. They are very lucky that Ja Moran was not playing. I believe if that boy was playing in Memphis, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go to State Fan. They would have lost that. They would have lost that.
He can play some basketball.
He can play some basketball. That young skinny boy from South Carolina, he can play some basketball.
Yes, he can. I love it. Hey guys, this has been great. We got to do it again. Jim and Nate, and of course Lawrence, and of course Gary. We got to come back, man. We got to keep doing it, man. We got to use this platform, and we got to call names like we're doing, man. Because if we don't call names, they go keep doing the same thing over and over again. They think that we condone it if we don't call them out.
Yep.
And our kids' future, it's at stake, man. And as I always say, man, that you cannot soar with eagles when you hang out with chickens. And I ain't hanging out with no.
All right, everybody. Hey, until next time, be safe.
Be safe.
Peace. God bless.
Peace.
All right.
Let me say one thing. Mr.
Yes,
Frederick
sir.
Douglass, he said, power concedes to nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will.
will.
He will.
All right.
All
On
right,
that note,
guys.
we're out of here.